Welcome to the Place to Be Free podcast. I'm your host, Martha Blessing. I'm an energy intuitive, healer, spiritual channel, and a healing mentor and guide. I'm driven by the purpose of illuminating the potential in others to live their personal power, well-being, and sovereignty by connecting them to the truth within themselves. To explore my work or connect with me, you can visit marthablessing.com. If you feel called to support the podcast, please leave a rating or review on Apple Podcasts. I so appreciate your presence here, and I'm honored to serve as a guide or companion on your path. Now, on to the episode. Welcome back to the podcast. I'm your host, Martha Blessing, and I am following up today in this episode. This is part 2 from the podcast that I started last week on episode 38, Energy Medicine, and the idea that you do not have a health problem, you have mismanaged energy. And so in that podcast and in that episode, I gave you the first 3 concepts and principles from esoteric and spiritual healing that will help you shift, first of all, your thinking and your mindset. And as a result of that, your internal energy and frequency and vibration will change. When it changes internally and the healing happens on the inside in your consciousness and frequency, because of the universal spiritual law of cause and effect, source, an intelligent substance, divine mind, has no other option than to reflect it back to you in your physical reality. What so many people are doing is they're getting these law of attraction and manifesting principles confused or not fully understanding them, and they're trying to get something externally and bring it in and draw it into their inner being. And the healing mechanism, the how of healing, the how of growth and consciousness and development that results in your body becoming well and functioning in wholeness, it all comes from the mechanism that you create internally. And so I'm continuing in this episode. I want to give you the rest of these esoteric spiritual teachings so that you can start to apply them and create the shift that you desire. I'll leave a real quick link for last week's episode so that you can go back and listen if you hadn't had a chance, and you'll catch the first 3. And then you can catch up here with the rest. It's very important, it's critically important that when you are on your spiritual path, healing path, spiritual journey, whether it's always multidimensional. We are working on physical, mental, emotional, spiritual, energetic, karmic, all at the same time. It's always holographic. When you create the change inside, it affects everything and everyone in your world and in your life, in all directions of space and time, because there is no divine mind, divine intelligence. There is no time and space. It's all happening now. And what you want, what you desire, is already here. That's the law of polarity. So it is critically important that you build your intent and your personal power and your personal will as you move through these principles, because quite honestly, there's not a whole lot of people who are working at these levels. They're moving towards it. There's a lot of people moving towards it. You've heard me speak about the 4 levels of consciousness in healing. And a lot of people are at level 2 and at level 3. And so when you try to get help or get understanding or get validation, really is what it is, right? We are looking for validation that this is going to work, that we can create the change, because we haven't changed so far. We haven't created the change within us, and we have doubt and we have fear. And so when we reach to people who are at a lower level, and that's not a judgment, but at a lower frequency and a lower level of understanding, they are not going to validate us. It's not their fault. They just don't have this perception in their wheelhouse. And that does a lot of damage. Because of this, it's vitally important that you seek people who are at this level and higher to keep you accountable, to get your questions answered, because you will have questions. It will seem foreign. You do not have a level of understanding for it yet. The fourth principle is understanding that when you drop back down into a negative or critical thought, an old pattern that has existed previously, and you allow yourself to go into feelings of fear and doubt, it will hold you back from what it is you desire. This is why I teach subconscious reprogramming, master thought formula, how to get at the new patterns that will support you into a new state of being. Remember that a consciousness of love and trust will speed up the flow. That's why the love meditation is on the website at marthablessing.com. It is the meditation that I channeled, that I did daily for many, many years. And it is the frequency and the meditation that I did to support myself to a new frequency. And it healed 10 years of daily chronic pain, because in it is that frequency and consciousness of love and trust, and affirming that you are the divine expression. And when everything else is going on outside of you externally to try and trip you up and make you believe that you are not that highest expression, this is what it takes, is to get into the consciousness, the frequency and the vibration of love and trust. Self-love and doing the love meditation, or whatever tool that you have to bring you to that place. Love is the fulfillment of universal spiritual law. It is what we are created of and from. It is divine mind in us as us. Faith is the energy that clears that channel. Faith is the energy that clears the channel. Now, why is that so important? Because we think we know faith, but we don't realize that faith is active. And you will have to come back to this principle and concept of faith and how you are going to actively use it in your life. Because faith tells us that we believe first without the outward seeing of the results. Do you get this? Most people want a guarantee ahead of time that this path is correct. They don't want to trust themselves, and they don't even, we've reached a point now where we don't even want to trust other practitioners. There's so much out there. It's overwhelming and confusing. And so there's this catch-22 of, I don't know what it is that's missing. And because I don't know what I don't know how to trust myself, and I don't know how to trust someone else. And so what happens is you do nothing and you stay in the same place. Coming into a place of faith, and that is a belief that you are a part of this greater cosmic soup. Not even a part of, you are divine mind. I've talked about it before. The best book that you will ever use as a guide for establishing faith as one of your highest core values and principles to get you where you want to go is God Works Through Faith by Robert Russell, and I will leave a link to that in the show notes. Critically important, thoughts and feelings of fear will hold you back, and a consciousness of love and trust will speed up your frequency and clear the channels of energy to get you to the frequency of what it is you desire. Next principle, acknowledging that the spirit within you is the one and only source of everything that it is you desire. It is the source of abundance. And when I say abundance, I mean health, I mean wealth, I mean prosperity, I mean relationships, everything that you desire that you perceive that you don't have. Source is the supply. Intelligent substance is the supply. Everything comes from source through people, but source is the supply. Intelligent substance is where your health and well-being is. The only thing keeping you from it is your lack of knowledge, of understanding in this, and being the frequency of it. What that means more specifically, no one practitioner has the answer to your healing. If they did, all of the holistic, alternative, complementary modalities that we have available to us, we would all be healed. We would not be sick anymore. We would not struggle in any way if they had the answers. Think about that. I want you to really, really think about that. Wrap your head around it. Wrap your mind and your heart around it. And spirit within you is the one source of everything you desire. It is within you. It's why I offer the free meditations, the free energy attunements that I do on my website. One is the healing spark and connecting with your highest self, why it is so, so critically important. And you will become what you practice. Go get it. It's free. It's on the free tools page. Because the way in is through this, and once you get there, that is also the way out of whatever it is that you perceive as a struggle and the challenge and the barrier and the block that's holding you back. Think about this with all that we have available. I mean, I can't tell you how many people come to me on a daily basis and they tell me, I've been to every kind of holistic practitioner. I've done Reiki, I've done acupuncture, I'm working with functional medicine. Now they tell me I have to go on these biologics and heavy-duty drugs, and intuitively they know that's not the answer, and they know that that's not what they want to do, but they feel so helpless. And if all of those other people and modalities were the answer, why isn't anyone getting better? It's the reason why I've advanced and evolved to teaching the principles that help me, because I could no longer in good conscience just keep allowing people to come and plop down on my table or receive healing sessions without having this knowledge and this wisdom and this guidance to become who it is that we really truly are, and that is aligned with source and spirit, aligned with consciousness. Next principle. Do not outline the way your good and your healing is supposed to come to you. There are so many factors that you can't even see and perceive of when you set forth your intention and you use your will and your energetic internal personal power. When you learn to access that and use that to call forth whatever it is you desire, whether it's healing, physical, mental, emotional, spiritual, you can't begin to understand and know how the universe is going to line that up. And when you wander off in your mind, in your head, and you go focusing on negativity and critical thoughts and feelings of fear, you're literally shutting off the options and the possibilities of what spirit and source can do and bring to you and through you. You've got to be open to letting spirit surprise you in ways that you may not see or understand yet. A really wonderful book that helps bring this whole concept into understanding is The Surrender Experiment by Michael Singer, and I will leave that in the show notes as well. He has a couple books out, but The Surrender Experiment, he started it really was an experiment, and he decided to say yes to everything that came into his life. Now that's the ultimate faith and the ultimate trust, and it was a wild journey. I mean, things happened to him that you couldn't even imagine. And he became wealthy beyond his wildest dreams and healthy. And he also lost everything and got things back. It's a very, very good account of allowing spirit to surprise you and shower you with abundant health and well-being and relationships and right livelihood, everything that you would choose and desire. Next principle, recognize that it is the will of divine mind, of intelligent substance, for you to be happy, to be healthy, to be wealthy, and to be free. There is not anything that even resembles lack in the will of divine mind. We have created the separation. We have created the limitation and the illness and the disease and the poverty in our minds first. And because it's held there, it cannot help but manifest. And we bring it into reality with our feelings, with our shame, with our guilt, with everything that we've gotten from our childhood. Every single one of us was born to be happy and healthy and free. It doesn't look like it on the outside, on the external, in the circumstances, which is one of the reasons why you don't want to bring up all of these new learnings and teachings to people who are not on the path, because they're going to tell you that you're crazy. When I first realized that I wanted to work in the holistic healing and healing arts field, was back in early 90s. Back then, it's not like it is today. Wasn't as well known, wasn't as mainstream. And when I let my mother know that I wanted to go away for 3 months, I was leaving my job and I was going away for 3 months. And I was going to live at a yoga center, essentially. She looked at me and she said, "Well, what's that going to get you?" And I said, "What do you mean?" And she said, "Well, who's going to want to hire you?" I was still a nurse at the time. Actually, I'd taken a break from nursing, but I was still a nurse. In her 3D world, the only way that you could make money, and, women had to go out and get a job, or they had to be married to someone who was going to give them money. Despite the fact that her parents owned a business, her reality was you needed someone to take care of you. And I needed to have a job. I needed to have that consistent 9-to-5 paycheck. And so in her world, what was this credential to her? If you didn't get a master's degree or something like that, then, what was the value in it? And I have to admit, I wasn't shot down because I did it. It was profound. It changed my life. It helped me step into more and more of who I was meant to be and live my dharma in this lifetime. But fortunately, I had been used to bucking authority and fighting against at the time. And so I didn't listen to her. But there's many, many people who so much are still living in this dynamic of needing and wanting love and validation from our parents that they would crumble at that statement and they would end up not doing what it is that they were meant to do. Everything that you need to live the life you came here to live is inside of you. And it is the will of source and intelligent substance and divine mind for you to be in alignment with it. It is your internal power and identity. Next principle, do not delay the manifestation of what it is you desire by holding in your thoughts and your mind any idea that what it is you want will come here tomorrow or the next day or the next day, or when is it going to come? Don't hold it in the future. Law of polarity says that equal and opposites are in existence at the same time, hot and cold, light and dark. They're both existing at the same time. Spirit works in the now. This is a difficult concept for a lot of people to grasp, but you set your intention and your will, and then you do not focus on it as where is it, I asked, where is it? Because that's somewhere off in the future. It's always only now. And what so many people are doing is they're using their energy and their efforts to either think about the past, which cannot be changed, they're at some other point in time, or they're worried about something that hasn't happened yet. And even if they think about, oh, next Wednesday, you can't get there from here. It's always now. When you get to next Wednesday, it'll be now. I know that sounds silly and ridiculous, but it's now. And so what you want, source works in the now. If you live in the future, whatever it is that you want will always be a day ahead of you. It'll always be somewhere out in the future. You cannot, when you set your intentions, have anything other than it is already here. And then you go about the being as if it is already here. What so many people do is they set an intention, but they don't fully understand the mechanism of how it comes into their reality. And they use their mind in an incorrect way, thinking and waiting. And so when you project that, number one, what you're doing is you are a particular frequency and consciousness when you are doing that. Internally, that creates a particular frequency. And so it's a consciousness within you that has to shift and change. And that happens, like it can happen right here, right now. You choose to make that change in your awareness, in your consciousness, and the alignment happens that the field responds to the consciousness within you. Again, this is why going and plopping down at somebody else's healing table or going to the functional medicine or whatever these things are. I'm going to do another podcast about the whole functional medicine and supplementation. Maybe I'll do that next week because there's a lot of misinformation in that as well. It's based on a false premise is what it is. According to the laws of cause and effect, your internal consciousness is what is going to help you live the manifestation and divine mind and intelligent substance, bringing it to you what it is that you desire. There's no getting. It's already here. You have to become the consciousness and awareness and frequency of it. I hope that these principles help you understand how to create the change that you desire. Everything is energy. These may sound like just esoteric, non-tangible, but when you start to practice them, your energy changes. It's why this is energy medicine. It's why it's energy healing, is when you go against these principles, your energy becomes constricted. Divine mind in you as you cannot flow and cannot be aligned with who you are truly and what it is that you desire. So even though it's already here for you, the healing is already here, the health is already here, everything you desire, it's not a health problem. It's a mismanagement of the energy internally that creates a vibration and a frequency of something that it is that you do not want. When you adopt these principles and change them, use them for change in your life, the energy shifts and you cannot help but have the same reflection and representation in your body and in your life. Thanks for listening. Thanks for being here, and I will see you in the next episode. Thanks for listening to the Place to Be Free podcast. And if you liked what you heard and you want to know more, go to marthablessing.com/free stuff.